were more official than us. Of course, that's one reason why we wanted to be able to do it there. But so we had our own little sort of impromptu ceremony. We got out that quilt we'd sewn together, we sang, and we looked across towards the south from the north side. If you Google demilitarized zone, this is one of the images that comes up very quickly. The blue buildings belong to the United Nations, and the boundary goes through the middle of those blue buildings. So you can see that we're on the North Korean side. You can see the North Korean soldiers down below. You see the South Korean soldiers on the other side, and the big building in the background is in South Korea. This would be a very short step from one side to the other, but we could look at it, but we couldn't cross that. So we were taken back to Kaesong, where there is an industrial zone, which is a joint project between North and South Korea. There's a new customs hall there, immigration facilities, and we were able to cross there. The South Korean government sent a bus for us. The North Korean government allowed the bus to come. They had to talk to each other to actually agree this, and as was said earlier, they don't talk to each other very much. So for us, this was kind of an important thing. They had to sort of take notice of the fact we were there and we were wanting to do this. Our guides couldn't go any further with us, so they all had to say goodbye to us at this point because we were not on Korean passports. As international people, we were able to cross, but the regular Korean cannot. So they stayed behind, and the bus took us to the South Korean border station, where there was a huge press group ready to greet us, mainly to ask us about human rights violations in North Korea. How could you possibly go to North Korea when it has such awful human rights violations? And our answer to that really was, we want to build relationships with people. We think that dialogue and conversation and engagement is essential, and that separation is just continuing to separate and polarize the situation. And people are scared, as was said earlier, that war could break out at any moment. And so to bring this to some kind of resolution is going to need dialogue and conversation. And so that was kind of our big reason for doing this. Gloria Steinem was the one who was the public spokesperson at this point, and that's basically what she said to various news reporters, both from South Korea and also internationally. Then we bused to a nearby place, the town of Paju, which is just on the south side of the DMZ. And many people met us there who had been walking alongside the fence. The guy who's on the bus with us, the bigger one, you can just see looking out of the window, is a photographer for National Geographic. His name is David Guttenfelder, and he managed to publish some marvelous photographs in the New York Times. He's on a personal mission to sort of humanize ordinary people in North Korea that we have so little image of. And he's been there about 40 times in the last 15 years and taken many different photos. So he came with us, and people greeted us as we came in. They scooped us up, and we walked to a park where there was a rally. This is a very similar image to the one that maybe you chose, Alison, to put on the, Amani chose it, to put on the flyer advertising this talk. This was the image we wanted. This was the image we wanted to see in newspapers, because we wanted to sort of grab people's attention, to help people come to grips with the complexity of this situation. We're wearing white, the color of mourning in Korea, and we're wearing these scarves that take their image from that patchwork kind of motif. This was the rally, beginnings of the rally in the park. You can see this Korean drumming group, red, yellow, blue, with a lot of brass, drums and gongs. And from here we went to Seoul and had another symposium with women in Seoul where we learned quite a bit about different efforts that women had made to try and talk across the DMZ. I just want to point out one of the people there, and it's the person sitting on the extreme right. This is a Korean woman who has worked outside US bases in South Korea, in towns and villages alongside the bases, so working in bars and clubs, often in sex work. She was part of that sex trade. She's older now, and the women who are working there now in that role generally are from the Philippines. But in the past they were Korean, and these elderly Korean women are suing the government to give them better pensions and more health care and so on, as a recognition of the fact that they did a lot of work that the nation prized. They were honored as dollar earners and people who took care of US troops, but have sort of been abandoned in their old age. So this was one of the very first times that she had spoken about this in public, and did it at this thing. Outside, the place where we had our conference was a group of protesters, people who didn't approve of what we were doing, thought we should go back to North Korea or go back to where we came from, but who felt that we were allowing ourselves to be used by North Korean government views. So this to say that opinion in South Korea was very mixed about what we did. There was a lot of people who greeted us very warmly, and then there were other people who were much more critical. This is the last slide I want to show you, and I'm just picking it out because of the man in the dark suit on the front row. This is the mayor of Seoul. He's a very progressive person, and so the South Korean government is not progressive at the moment. I think that's putting it mildly. And so he was kind of asserting his own independent political position by inviting us to hold this conference in Seoul City Hall, and also by coming personally to greet people and have his photograph taken and all that. So that gets me to sort of from arriving in the north, traveling, crossing the DMZ in the bus, engaging and linking up with folks in the south. And there's just 3 little clips that sort of animate that I'll show you, and then we'll talk. So just bear with me for a moment when I switch.